All right, in this video, I want to talk about how I rigged up the URSA Cine 17K 65, and if you have the URSA Cine 12K LF, then this will apply to you as well. All the parts are interchangeable, the bodies are exactly the same. So if you're looking for ideas or inspiration for building out your URSA Cine, then hopefully this video will be helpful to you. I'll show you what I did, and yeah, let's do this. So the URSA Cine kit that I got in had like all the stuff that's like, you know, in the kit. So the EVF, the shoulder mount, the top handle, and all the other stuff that is in there. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I didn't use all of that. I used some other parts from Wooden Camera that they sent out to me on loan to use while I had the camera. So I just want to show you like what I used that felt like it was like the best configuration for me. And I spent probably like 4 or 5 hours building this camera out just exactly the way I wanted, to make sure that it would fit my needs from going from handheld to tripod to and Dana dolly and shoulder mount and all that stuff. So that said, let's go ahead and just start with it, and we'll start from, I don't know, the bottom of the camera and kind of move our way up, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So on the bottom of the camera, I actually used the shoulder mount that comes in the kit. I really like that shoulder mount. It's super comfortable, and it has an RE dovetail receiver on it, so it's super easy to move from handheld to tripod or handheld to Dana dolly. Moving on to the top of the camera, and this is where I started using a lot of the Wooden Camera Elite accessory system stuff, and it really made, this stuff really made the camera much more usable and clean, in my opinion. And hopefully by the B-roll footage and me explaining, you'll understand why. So first up, at the core of it is this top plate right here. This is made specifically for the URSA Cine. It's got cutouts here for the vents, so you're not having any airflow blockage, which is really important because that camera is it's working really hard. It's a supercomputer basically. And it's got mounting points all throughout. It's got 1/4 and 3/8 by 16 all throughout on the sides. And then there's kind of like a little, you can see it's kind of like angled right here. So it kind of flares out, which is really nice. And then you see here on the front, there are some 3/8 by 16 mounts as well. And that's where I used this right here. This is a rod, a 15mm rod bracket or holder or whatever. I wanted to use this as opposed to the Blackmagic system because I didn't use the Blackmagic top handle, even though you can mount the Blackmagic top handle to this if that's what you prefer to use. But I wanted to change things out, and hopefully you'll kind of see why through the B-roll and whatnot. But I used this to mount 15mm rails, and I actually didn't use the carbon fiber rails from Blackmagic because the follow focus that I was using, the Nucleus Nano 2, just wouldn't bite down on it enough. It would always just bump off no matter what. So I swapped it out with some mismatched random rails. I don't even know the brand of the rails that I use, but they're just like metal 15mm rods. And that seemed to solve the issue for me. So otherwise I would have used the carbon fiber rails. They were just fine and whatever, but because I was using the follow focus on there, I couldn't use those carbon fiber rails. And I just wanted to have the follow focus on the top because then that eliminated the need to run rails on the bottom of the camera on the shoulder mount, and just kind of kept everything a little bit more neat and tidy. And then in front of the follow focus was the EVF mount, and that's the whole Blackmagic EVF mount. I used that, and I absolutely loved that EVF and the mount and everything. Like, the system was really well designed, and the EVF is a really, really nice EVF. So next up is the top handle. So instead of using the Blackmagic top handle, I opted to use the URSA Cine handle for the Elite system from Wooden Camera. And big reason why is I felt like it's a bigger handle, and so it just didn't feel like more robust or anything. It was just honestly just more comfortable to handle. It's rounded here all around, and I don't know. It's to me it's a more comfortable handle than the Blackmagic one, but it also has a ton of different mounting points to mount any kind of accessories, whatever you need. I mounted just a little monitor mount here on the top when I ran a 7-inch small HD monitor. I think it was the ND7. They sent that out on loan because my 702 Touch is now my Teradek receiver. I have the receiver module on it. So that's kind of used for wireless. So they were kind enough to just loan me out ND7 for this project. But yeah, really like this top handle, super comfortable. And like I said, ton of mounting points all around and 2 solid mounting points that yeah, mounts directly to the top of this plate. Now, before we move to the back of the camera, real quick, I ran some on this side of the plate, so the I/O side of the camera, the AC side of the camera, just on this like flared side right here, I ran some of those Condor blue cable ties, and I really like those because they kept all the cables, you know, super tidy, and you know, especially running, you know, power to the focus motor, power to the monitor, an SDI cable, and then even a timecode cable. I use that to kind of keep everything super tidy. And that was just really nice because moving from handheld to tripod and kind of moving all around different locations, different rooms, whatever, it was just really nice to not have anything that would like snag or anything. So that's what I ran there. Let's move to the back of the camera. And this was probably like my favorite part of this whole kit, and that's this wedge plate right here. And if you have an URSA Cine 12K LF, if you've got it rigged out, or 17K, if you've got it rigged out exactly the way you want it, but you don't have this, I would highly recommend getting this wedge plate. And basically what this wedge plate does is it creates a straight line for your battery, your V-mounts and all that stuff, instead of how the URSA Cine back is kind of angled, kind of like the URSA Mini Pro. And so like when you start adding things on, it kind of starts like angling up. This wedge plate solves that issue, and it keeps everything just super flat and level, and I really like that. So what it does is it mounts in the OEM mounting holes for the battery plate. So you'll remove the battery plate and run the battery cable through this wedge plate and plug it in. And I found it to be easiest to run it through, plug it in, and then screw this on. And then you screw on the battery plate to these other screws. I don't know if my camera will focus. Yeah, so there's these other screws that will mount to, that's where you mount the battery plate to. The V-mount plate and the B-mount plate, I'm assuming the gold mount plate as well, marries up to this directly, and that just kept everything really nice and flat. And it has some more mounting points up at the top, which I actually use to mount a cold shoe to hold a timecode cable, and then another one of those cable ties to have more cable management and organization. All right, now, so behind that, if I needed to run wireless for whatever reason, typically like if I'm running like a, you know, production monitor or something, then I would use this right here. So this is my Teradek Bolt 6 LT, and it's actually internal antenna. I really like this as opposed to external. It's kept everything super clean and neat, but totally, that's for a totally different video. But it's sitting in this caddy made by Core SWX. What's really nice about this is it actually passes through the higher voltage from the Helix Max batteries, which is really important, especially if you're wanting to get anything over 60 frames per second on both the 17K and the 12K LF. And the optional power ports, like on the front of the camera, it requires that higher voltage from those Helix Max batteries. And this passes that through, as well as it passes battery information, which is also super handy to have. So yeah, I really like this thing. You know, it's one of those purchases that wasn't like the most exciting purchase, but it's a real quality of life thing. And it has a little D-tap or a 2-pin LEMO cable built into it to power the transmitter, which is really nice. But if I didn't need that, then if I didn't need wireless, then I wouldn't use that, because it certainly adds extra bulk to the camera system. But I really like how it holds the Teradek, because since there's that side AC monitor, which is where a lot of times I would mount a Teradek or something, I didn't want to mount it there because there's that monitor there, and I definitely didn't want to block that. So this is a really cool piece for any of you URSA Cine owners out there. But if I wasn't running wireless, then I wouldn't use it, and I would just mount a V-mount battery directly to the V-mount plate. And that's pretty much how I ran the camera. And then sometimes, like especially on the more like bigger sets, if you will, where it wasn't as run and gun, I would run a shark fin adapter, and that just allowed me to hot swap batteries without having to power the camera down. But powering the camera down is not that big of a deal, just because the power cycle is pretty quick. But you know, with these SDIs being 12G SDI, then it's just safer to hot swap batteries instead of having to do the protocol all the time. Speaking of SDI cables, I just bought these from Mutiny. They make these custom SDI cables, and they put this like sweet paracord looking wrap around it, and it looks super awesome. This is a 4-inch one, and this is like the perfect distance to run from camera to the transmitter. And the last thing I forgot to mention was on the shoulder mount. There were some RE Rosette mounts on the shoulder mount, and for that I would use my Bright Tangerine Casbah handles for when going shoulder mounted, or when I was on the Dana Dolly, I would actually flip them around and just kind of run 2 handles on the Dana Dolly or tripod, and felt like I had much more control of the camera. And on the right side, I had these little things right here. This one's made by Condor Blue, and this one is Small Rig. And what this allows you to do is essentially, like, it's got a little push button. The designs are a little different, but it allows you to just reposition the handle much easier and quicker than having to unscrew and blah, 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 blah. So I had them both on the right-hand side. So I had one on this handle. So I took the Casbah handle off the right side and used this to control my follow focus motor, and then one on the end of the arm. And then it was just really easy to reposition. And I wish I would have bought 2 more to have on the other side, but I didn't want to spend any more money on gear for this project. So yeah, that's pretty much how I ran it. That was pretty much the whole rig. Looking here, I guess the last thing is I used like a Small Rig mini matte box. I don't even know if they still make it. And that was just to hold ND filters, which I'm using the Element filters, full spectrum NDs. Super good, clean NDs, and they have IR cut. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Rambling on at this point, but if you found this helpful, or you took some inspiration from it for your URSA Cine build, then maybe consider subscribing, like the video, comment, ask questions, whatever you want to do. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.